Hey, good evening, guys. Good afternoon, Farid here. Somehow I can't see.
We can hear you. I think they're just waiting to get the meeting started.
Oh, okay.
Hey, good evening. Yes, we are waiting to get started. Not quite 6 o'clock yet, but I see we got a lot of people on. So hello and good evening.
Good evening, all.
Good to see you all.
Yes, ma'am. Same here.
We will call it to order at 6 p.m., but thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Please remember to keep your microphones muted until you're called upon by the chairman.
Oh yeah. It's a to keep you muted until.
So good evening again. I just want to let everybody know we're going to take just a couple of minutes while we have some more log on. We have a few more people trying to join us, and we'll get started momentarily.
Sounds good.
All right, good evening. It's a little past 6 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started. I see that we have the chairman, Commissioner Washington, and Commissioner Williams present. So I'm going to throw it over to you, Chairman Nesbitt.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. And we are ready to start our virtual meeting of the Rockdale County Board of Commissioners Zoning and Planning hearing tonight. It is February the 24th already, 2022, and we're now calling our meeting to order. I'd like to start off with the approval of the agenda. Commissioners?
Had to find that unmute button.
Yeah.
I approve the minutes of I approve the agenda.
You're placing a motion.
Oh, I move that we approve the agenda.
I second.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. We will now have the approval of the minutes from our last meeting.
I move that we approve the minutes from the January 27th, 2002 zoning public hearing meeting.
2022.
It feels like 2002. So, yes.
We're going to approve those two, the 2022 minutes.
I second the motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. At this time, we'll move down to the rules of procedures for public hearings at this time.
Each speaker must fill out a public comment card to register your intent to speak prior to the start of this meeting. Each item of business shall be handled in the order that it appears on the agenda, unless upon motion of the board that the order is changed. A member of the county planning staff will present each item to the board and will provide recommendations made by both the planning staff and the Conyers-Rockdale Planning Commission for each item of business. All board members are required to have their video and microphone on throughout the entirety of the meeting. If joining the meeting virtually, use your full name when you log in. All board members must state their names to identify themselves prior to speaking. The zoning applicant or the agent will have 10 minutes in which to make his or her presentation. Any portion of their 10 minutes may be reserved for rebuttal following the opposition to the application. If you are a presenter, please be prepared to share your screen during your presentation and ensure that your documents are set to full screen or in presentation mode. If you have pre-registered for public comment, the secretary will call your name when it is your turn to speak. And the meeting facilitator will unmute your microphone and you will need to start your video and unmute your microphone. After the applicant's presentation, all registered speakers who wish to speak in favor of the application will then be heard. They will also be limited to a total of 10 minutes. Once the applicant has made his or her presentation and the speakers in favor of the application have been heard, the secretary will then call upon the registered speakers in opposition to the application. The opposition shall likewise be limited to a total of 10 minutes. Once the public hearing portion is closed, no other speakers will be heard. As a reminder, speakers are to address the board, not the applicant or the audience, and are expected to conduct themselves in an appropriate manner. The use of abusive or profane language shall not be allowed. No debate or argument between speakers shall be permitted. After all public comments have been heard, the board may elect to hold general discussion. However, no decisions will be rendered at this hearing. Decisions will be made at the next regularly scheduled Board of Commissioners meeting. This meeting is being streamed live on Facebook and being recorded. Due to audio sensitivity, please refrain from sidebar conversations or personal comments for anyone in attendance. There is a 15-second delay between the live meeting and the Facebook stream. All virtual participants' microphones will be automatically muted by the meeting facilitator. For those in attendance here in the auditorium, please do not stream Zoom or Facebook due to negative impacts on the audio. Comments submitted via Facebook will become an official part of the record.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you to our Public Relations Department for the rules and procedures of our public hearing tonight. There is no old or unfinished business. We'll move right on into new business this evening, and we will start Director Johnson with item number 8.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Madam Commissioners. First item we have tonight is a future land use case 2022-01 and a rezoning case 2022-01, 1362 and 1390 Rock Bridge Road. The future land use is a request to amend the future land use from low density residential to light industrial, while the rezoning is a request to rezone 4 parcels from R3 multifamily residential to M1 limited industrial. The size is 47.7 acres. Applicant is Stonemont Financial. This required 2 public hearings. There was one at the Planning Commission and one tonight. And one vote is required for each item tonight. Mr. Chairman, Madam Commissioners, the applicant wishes to be referred back to the Planning Commission this evening for reconsideration. They're working on a new concept plan. They want to continue coordinating with the surrounding community, look at some off-site improvements. And so there will be no presentation tonight for this particular item.
Okay. Do you have any further information regarding this tonight, or that wraps it up on this particular item?
But, well, since it is a hearing, Mr. Chairman, we do have some individuals that would like to speak that have already signed up in advance.
And that's exactly what I'm asking. So let's proceed forward.
Yes, sir. All right, we have signed up. We have a Miss Norma Shipp and a Mr. Cleveland Stroud.
All right.
And I think both are already logged on. I saw them earlier, so.
I'll start with Ms. Shipp. Thank you, Ms. Shipp. Are you there?
Yes, I am. I'm
Go
here.
right
Can you
ahead.
hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Good evening, Chairman Nesbitt, Commissioner Washington, and Commissioner Williams. Thank you for your time this evening.
Good evening.
I am a resident of 1248 Rockbridge Road, and my family home has been here since 1971, and we have other homes in the area that's been here as early as in the early 1900s. So we're one of the oldest Black communities in the city as well as the county. And for years, retired Councilman Straw has worked with the mayors and council to improve the streets and put in sidewalks and four-way stops. We are a traditional neighborhood. I know that the planning and the developer is saying that we are surrounded by industrial, but we are not surrounded by industrial. And I am against this rezoning for the following reasons. And I did send you all a very detailed email, and I hope you all received it. But I'll just touch on a couple of points so that former Councilman Straw can have time to speak as well. But the main thing I want to point out, the Rockbridge Road is the main route into the city, going to North Main Street into Old Town Conyers and Green Street to the other side, south side. This is a highly traveled road. We have pedestrians, cars, trucks, motorcycles, anything, you name it. We have it up and down this road. We have utility trucks. We have our emergency station over here. The traffic is going to be greatly impacted already because we have 11 streets that's tied to Rockbridge Road. That's over 600 homes in this area. And so we are very concerned about adding a warehouse of that size, or any size really, and 80 bays, truck bays, and 250 parking spaces. Imagine the impact on this 2-lane road that we already have. And so we want to really stress that we are already highly traveled, and we have directly related to Rockbridge Road 248 families, their homes. They have children and grandchildren. They are going down to the Elliott store, walking. They're walking over to Mamie's Kitchen. And then we have people just walking for their health. And if you're talking about allowing 18-wheelers up and down 2-lane road, that is very safety is a big issue there. And so I want to stress that highly. And I did a traffic pattern myself, just looking on 3 different days and 15-minute intervals. In the first 15-minute interval, there were 32 cars that came up Rockbridge Road. The second 15 on a different day, 21 in that 15-minute time span. You see the volume. And then the third day, 15-minute interval, 28 cars. And we also have already a no trucks allowed on Green Street and Rockbridge Road, but we still get the 18-wheelers. They get stuck on that railroad track. We have to wait for somebody to come and move them. So it is not being policed. So if we allow the trucking to come with the warehousing, then it's not going to be policed either. And I know that they say they have a plan for all that, but who is going to make sure that that happens? So safety is a big concern. And then I want to say that the gentrification of our neighborhood will happen if we allow this 47 acres to be moved from R1, R3 to M1, because it's going to start destroying the community. We do not want to become a lesser road because all they see outside their homes are warehouses up and down their street. We do not want that. We are residential all the way around. We do not need to be having a warehouse. If it's rezoned, other home developers may not want to put homes out here because we do have other parcels that people could develop. But if you put this warehouse up here, it may deter them and say, oh, they're not caring about putting houses. We just want to put warehouses. So then it's opening the doors for others. Because one particular land I looked up is 55 acres, another is 12, another is 9. So you have opportunity. But if you change this from residential to M1, then other people will come and ask the same thing, and you probably will have to honor it if you change this. And this property has not been sold, it's pending rezoning. We don't know what's going to be in that building. So therefore, we know they said the peak time is going to be 5 o'clock in the 8 a.m. and maybe 1 or 2 trucks coming in. If you don't know what you're going to have in the warehouse, you don't know what the peak time is going to be, and it's going to be a problem. You're going to add to the pollution. The truck's going to pollute. Then, depending on what they're doing in the warehouse, that's another pollution. Noise, chemicals, and other pollutants. So the main thing I want to point you to is the land use plan. It says to preserve existing neighborhood character and focus housing development to be responsive to market demand. Across the country, there's a housing shortage. And so Rockdale County is no different. So we need to keep our residential properties residential so we can have homes for our people. And I know they said that they want to put a warehouse there because all the rock, and it will be difficult and costly. Well, the preserve at Travis Creek, they put in 120 houses plus townhomes. They had rock, but they moved them.
Well,
So
Dr. Shipp, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, let me just say this to you. I hear your passion, and I've already violated a little in-house rule by allowing you to go on, and we hear you loud and clear. But we
okay.
Doc, I had to kind of jump in there a little bit on you.
I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am. That's okay. That's all right. We're gonna follow the rules here, so I'm gonna yield at this time to Director Johnson, and I think, Director, if I'm in order, we need to get the next speaker up. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We have approximately 3 minutes for Mr. Cleveland Stroud.
All right, Coach Stroud, take it away.
Can't hear you. You're on mute, Coach.
All right, Coach.
Can you hear me now?
I hear you loud and clear. Yes, sir.
Okay. Hi, good evening. I live at 1256 Rockbridge Road, and this is virtually next door to the proposed development. In fact, I think it's within 300 to 400 feet of the proposed development. I own about 3 lots here, and I've lived here since 1962. And I'm opposed to this rezoning because the purpose of zoning is to protect the integrity of the neighborhoods. And I don't think that this will do that. We already have truck traffic. There are turns on Main Street. It's very difficult for trucks. And also, the trucks will be going through the city limits, and this proposed development is not in the city limits, but the upkeep of the roads would have to be done by the city. And therefore, the city residents are going to be paying for the upkeep of the roads that these trucks are going to be tearing up. They're saying they're going to send the trucks the other way, but you can't control truck drivers. We can't even keep them from going across the railroad track and getting stuck in my neighborhood. Now, I asked this of the developer, and I asked this of the people at the Planning Commission. I'm going to ask it of you. How would you like for a 500,000 square foot warehouse to be built virtually next door to you? There's nothing between my property and their property except maybe 50 feet of woods. And I'm not sure they own the woods. Now, the buyer, well, the seller will get his money or her money, and the developer will make his money, and they'll move back to their little quiet neighborhoods. And we're going to be left with conditions that they will have, that this development is going to make. So we're asking you to take into consideration the community that's been here for many, many years. In fact, most of the houses were built when we couldn't build where we wanted to build. We had to build in certain areas. And this is one of the areas that we chose. So And I know they are Rockdale, and I know they're gonna try to make some condition changes on their development because they know that this is intrusive. And we do not want to have our properties and the tranquility of our neighborhood disturbed by a warehouse that's just virtually really next door to me. It's really next door to me. So let's understand that you guys were elected by people, not by industry. You're here to serve the citizens of Rockdale County. I am a citizen of Rockdale County, as is everybody in my community. And I would ask that you prioritize us more than somebody who's going to come in, build something, get the money, and run, and leave us with all this adverse communities here that we have really spent our lives trying to develop. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Coach. You beat the clock. Thank you so much.
Hey, I'm looking right at it, Doc.
Yes, sir. All right, very good. Now, Director Johnson, what's our next point of order here?
Mr. Chairman, the next point of order will be board discussion.
All right, I'll start with Commissioner Washington, post one.
Sure, I have a couple of questions. They've indicated that they are meeting and discussing the neighbors. Has the meeting already started? Have they made any headway? Because right now I still haven't heard any neighbors that are happy yet.
Commissioner Washington, good question. I don't think they've actually had a chance to meet as of yet. I think they're still trying to look at ways they can do some off-site improvements to have something to present. So I don't think a meeting has taken place as of yet.
Do we know what kind of off-site improvements they're looking to have?
No, ma'am, not at this time.
Okay. That's all I have.
All right, Commissioner Williams.
Drove by the property today. And it's just a little 2-lane road. I just can't even imagine big trucks coming down that road. That's a huge concern. And the fact that it is residential all around, that's another big concern of mine.
Okay, all right.
Chairman, can I ask another question?
Yes, ma'am, go right ahead.
Could you, Director Johnson, tell us what conditions you all were proposing that might help with some of those, the concerns that the citizens have, especially addressing Commissioner Williams' concern about the road.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Well, the main thing was that trucks could only go, when they exited that development, would go north to head to Rockbridge to Sigmund instead of going south. And they mentioned doing some improvements such as having entrances that would preclude trucks from making right turns to go south along Rockbridge. Obviously having the decel lane and some other things that would allow trucks to have an easier transition once they head south from Rockbridge. But also the traffic study was one, but the major thing was just the way of not making sure that trucks would go make a right turn out of that development to head south to disrupt the neighborhood, as well as to possibly getting stuck on the rail lines.
Okay, my last question is, what is the future land use for that that area and those parcels?
Future land use was it's low density residential surrounded by industrial zone, industrial land use, excuse me.
Surrounded.
So you're saying that our future land use, we included the industrial in our future land use?
The properties to the rear of the subject property and the properties to the north of the subject property, future land use are industrial. The properties that are south heading into the city borders of what's considered residential. And obviously across the street, there is City of Conyers property, and there's one apartment complex. But the majority of the property that's immediately behind it and north as you head toward Sigmund is future land use for industry, M1.
So when I was out there today, I didn't see anything industrial.
It's future
You
land.
said some of it is behind this property?
Yes, ma'am, Commissioner Williams. Directly behind it, you have Acuity has a light industrial warehouse. If you go north up Rockbridge Road, we have fire station and we have the animal control. And there's some other light, smaller local light industrial businesses as well. So yeah, everything that's actually for future land use going north of Rockbridge, if you make a left out of the subject property, future land use is considered to be light industrial.
So
Residential is when you go south on Rockbridge, as you go to the city borders are like right there. And so that's where the residential development starts as you go south. That's why they were, the applicants were wanting to ensure that the trucks would make, when they exited that facility, go north only. They would put in some impediments in terms of the driveway and the entrances that would preclude trucks from making, it would be only left only, not right on. You couldn't make rights coming out.
So Director Johnson, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. Commissioners, I hear you loud and clear. I'm jumping in because I think, number one, I do want to remind everybody that we won't be rendering a decision tonight. I share some of the same concerns from both Commissioner Washington and Commissioner Williams. And so that we will stay in order and in proper protocol, I will tell you that one of my concerns is the close proximity and the narrowness of that street there, Rockbridge Road, that rolls right into the heart of a community that has existed for quite some time. Unless I'm convinced otherwise, I'm interested, like Commissioner Washington said, to hear what kind of conditions there could possibly be. And I hear it, Director Johnson, about what's behind that property and Acuity brand, but what's nestled in the heart of that community is a community. So let's pause right here. I think myself and my colleagues, the commissioners, as it relate to this junction where we are, we've processed enough of that information. At the appropriate time, we will be rendering a decision. I want to make sure that we're in order. Director Johnson, is there anyone else that needs to come forth and speak regarding this?
We had one individual to sign up, but he emailed us and mentioned that he had some technical difficulties. He was just listening in, so he didn't want to speak. So this concludes the speakers for tonight, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Okay. So with that being said, I think this matter, item number A, we're ready to close that out and move on to item number B. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. As I stated earlier, no decision will be made publicly tonight. The commissioners and I will certainly process all of the information, feedback, and I tell you, there's been a ton of feedback from the citizens in Rockdale County, and we have received all of those calls, text messages, and those emails. So just stay tuned, and we'll be telling you what date we'll be making the decision. Let's go to item number B, 2721 and 2905 Turner Road, Conyers, Georgia. Director Johnson.
All right, Mr. Chairman, Madam Commissioner, the second item, rezoning case 2022-02, 2721 and 2905 Turner Road Southwest. This is a rezoning case only to rezone two parcels from R1 single family residential to CRS collaborative residential subdivision. These parcels total 111.6 acres. Applicant is the Revived Land Group LLC. This requires two public hearings. There was one at the Planning Commission and the one we're having tonight, and one vote will be required for the rezoning request. Summary, this is a proposed 179 lot single family home development. The CRS will warrant smaller lot sizes of a minimum of 10,000 square feet. The density is 1.6 units per acre. And they will have 2 access points along Turner Road.
Director Johnson, I hate to interrupt you, but I think you need to make an adjustment on your screen. It still has the timer up at this time. You need to get what you're talking about on the screen so folks can follow in concert with that. Who's ever responsible for that? All right, very good. Okay, all right, go back to once you can. We want to make sure that what you're talking about is matched with what's appearing on the.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Repeat. Okay, this is a 179 lot single family home development. The proposal. This will warrant CRS zoning smaller lots of a minimum of 10,000 square feet, the density of 1.6 units per acre, and the proposal will have 2 access points along Turner Road. Here we have the proposed site plan for the proposed development. And here we actually wanted to increase the site data from the previous slide, so you can clearly see some of the specs, the density, zoning, and some of the other standards that they are proposing. The next slide is showing just a location map. The red pin indicates the location on Turner Road and the proximity to where we are on Millstead. Another aerial showing the 2 parcels of question along Turner Road. As you see, it's very close to the DeKalb County border. All right, this is a future land use map, again, showing the current medium density residential. And the current zoning is obviously, as I mentioned, R1 for the 2 parcels along Turner. Note, the R1 zoning is really not ideal due to the physical features of this property. It has several creeks, streams, several topographical changes, and a lot of large rock outcroppings. The CRS zoning will allow more of the natural areas of the site to be preserved, hence the request for the CRS zoning. The staff recommends approval with conditions. The conditions, the first one is that the conceptual site plan prepared by the Revived Land Group from last December shall become the guiding layout and design. The actual location of water quality features, detention, streets, sidewalks, and other amenities are subject to the actual site conditions and requirements of our code. Secondly, the site shall be developed in compliance with the CRS zoning district if adopted. Thirdly, the applicant shall provide a traffic impact study with the preliminary plat. Any recommendations for improvements shall be required to be shown on the land disturbance permit during that time. Additionally, as determined by our DOT, a new study may be required for development. Any recommendations from any required studies shall also be shown on the LDP. Now, this concludes the staff's presentation for this particular item. The applicants would like to also provide some more detailed information for you tonight.
Okay, all right. Let's move forward with our applicant. Good evening.
Okay, we have Neville Allison and Barry Etheridge to speak on behalf of this.
All right, all right, sir.
Absolutely. Members of the board, thank you very much for your time this evening. I'll try to be as quick as possible. I unfortunately am not controlling the presentation. So whoever has that, if they could pull it up on the screen, and I'll just say slide down once we get going here. No, I don't see it at this point.
Coming up 1 second.
Well, my name is Neville Allison, 3500 Lenox Road, Atlanta, Georgia. I'm the managing director of the Revived Land Group. We are developers based here in Atlanta. We're a pretty big group. We've got about 12 active projects throughout Atlanta. We're well capitalized. We operate from an equity position versus a debt position. And we're excited about this project here in Rockdale. If you'll go to the next slide, please. Just as an overall location map, I think it's important to show we're here at Turner Road, just east of the intersection of Turner Road and Turner Hill Road. We are southeast of Stonecrest Mall, right at the DeKalb Rockdale line, south of I-20. That's parts of Stonecrest, a large development that D.R. Horton has finished out to our west in DeKalb County, as well as an additional parcel to the south that is part of parts of Stonecrest. If you'll go slide down. That's just a zoomed in aerial of our site. Here you can see some of the challenges that Kalanis mentioned. We've got a large lake in the middle of our property. We've got 2 creeks that bifurcate the property, as well as several large rock outcroppings. If any of you had the opportunity to walk this property, drive by it, it's really striking. It's like you're on the moon at some parts when you come by it and seeing these natural features. It's absolutely beautiful.
Welcome to Rockdale
County. Yes, sir. So here's just a zoning map showing the zoning of the property along with what's around it. Again, I think that's important. You can see we're surrounded by residential zoning. We've got some higher density residential to the north and to the east, closer to I-20. And then we also have on the DeKalb side some higher density residential with some townhomes and smaller single family lots, admittedly in DeKalb County. We'll go to the next slide, please. This is straight from the future land use map that Kalanis referenced. I just think this is always important to show. You can see that our subject site is surrounded by medium density residential. Our site is currently split between medium density residential and low density residential designations. Over here to the right, you'll see that I've got a chart, again, pulled from the future land use map, showing those 2 categories at the top of the page, and then recommended zoning categories within those designations. And you can see that the zoning category for which we're applying tonight is CRS and is a recommended and approved category within those land use designations. And you know what that tells you is we're down the fairway for the future land use map, which is a great place for a developer to be. Next slide, please. This is a site rendering of our layout. I think when you hear 179 lots, you may think, wow, this is a huge development. But one thing to point out is we have 111 acres. So we've just got a large site. From our density perspective, we're actually not very dense at 1.6 units per acre. And I think one of the things that really is striking to me, we do a lot of developments and often you see the lots really clustered together. It's because it's efficient from a development standpoint. What the CRS zoning category allows us to do is meander the site around the natural features. And what that gives you is really gorgeous home sites that back up to woods and canopy and open space versus a lot of lots that are interior or back up to themselves. It's a really exciting design here that we've come up with. You can see that we've got, I said 2, but it's actually 3 creeks if you count the one on the northern side of our property that cut through the middle that we're meandering around as well as a large lake in the middle. Another thing to point out, we've got pretty big lots here at 10,000 square feet. So these are not, cluster style lots by any means. But again, with the CRS zoning, we're able to create more open space, and that allows us to do some Class A amenities that a lot of the subdivisions in Rockdale don't have. We have planned a pool and a cabana, resort style pool, a cabana with bathrooms, community grass pavilion overlooking the lake. I just really think it's going to help drive demand and make people want to live here. If you guys go to the next slide, please. And this is just a quick exhibit showing our green space under the CRS zoning. We've faded out the lots, and you can see here, it's 45% green space. I never get to say that, so we made a slide for it because it's super exciting. If you guys will go to the next slide. This is our site plan. We can come back to this and answer questions. It's got a ton of information on the site data chart. I think the key here is that it's 1.6 units per acre for density. The code allows significantly more than that. I believe north of 3 units per acre is the allowable density. And again, our gross density here is 1.6 units per acre. So I mentioned that just because we could fit some more lots on here, but I don't think it makes sense from a development standpoint, from making the highest quality community that we can. And so we always try to aim for that first from a design standpoint. We'll go to the next slide, please. I just wanted to quickly point out some differences between the existing R1 zoning and what the CRS zoning allows us to do. There's already a permitted and approved R1 subdivision on a portion of this site. It's the southwestern portion of the site opposite from Parks of Stonecrest. That's the plan you see here on your left side of your screen. That's 37 single family lots. And you can see that our design under CRS is similar in this section, but with one really significant difference. Under the R1 zoning, a developer has to maximize the development area of the entire site. You try to put lots everywhere you can because they're big lots, so you got to use them all. But with that, you know, the setbacks and the buffers are different under the R1. What the CRS zoning allows is a slightly smaller lot, but it requires a 50-foot zoning buffer around all of your exterior property lines, including against right-of-way. So what I've done here is point out along Turner Road, where under the approved plan under R1, you have backyards that back directly up to Turner Road. That means somebody can build a privacy fence right against your right-of-way. Somebody next door can build a different color privacy fence or a different style, or put their trampoline back there or whatever. Under the CRS zoning, we are required and show a 50-foot buffer before our lots start off of the public right-of-way. So what that does is pull our development away from the public, allows us to screen the public from us, and for the public to be screened from our development. I think it's a reciprocal benefit. If you go to the next slide, please. This is just some of our product elevations. Again, we only do Class A developments. You can see we've got mixed materials on our product, stacked stone, brick, some hardy plank, hardy shake, and board and batten. Next slide, please. And you can see we offer ranch and two-story homes. And what people always ask is, outside of the design, is, well, how much are these houses going to sell for? And it's a difficult question to ask 2 years out from where we'll have vertical product. But I think it's important that to touch on it, and we're going to be similar to what's around us. I think probably 2,500 square feet up to 38 or 4,000 square feet. And that's not including a basement. So those are your top 2 floors. And I think the price point, if we were to start selling them today, would be in the high 300s through the 400s on that square footage band, which again reflects the product that's around us. We never want to be a square peg in a round hole. I know I'm running long on time, so I'm just going to hit on a couple of things. One, we're in line with the future land use map, which is the guiding development principle for the county. We're not asking for a change there or any variances under your development code. We've received your professional staff's approval, recommendation of approval with some conditions which we are, of course, agreeable to. We had a neighborhood meeting prior to Planning Commission where I think we actually had some opposition. We definitely expected some. That comes with the unknown of zoning. And by the end of the meeting, I think we had some neighbors that really supported us. And they've come out and spoken at the Planning Commission hearing. I think maybe 1 or 2 of them are dialed in tonight and have reached out individually. And that's really the way the process is supposed to work. So we're super thrilled about that. We were unanimously approved by the Planning Commission a couple of weeks ago for approval. And one of the things that's interesting, I wasn't planning on talking about, but a citizen brought it up. We're experiencing not only a national housing crisis, but a local housing crisis as well. And here in Atlanta, we've got an annual housing deficit of 90,000 units. And the only way to make a dent in that is to approve subdivisions where they belong. So with that, I will answer any questions you guys have, and happy to go back through anything.
Well, first, Mr. Allison, the first thing I want to do is say thank you for this presentation. We certainly do appreciate the professionalism and the level of the presentation. I think you've covered a lot of bases. I am very well familiar with this area, and I believe that my 2 colleagues are too. I'm impressed with the quality of the product that you're presenting. And again, the presentation itself and the way that the information is flowing is the kind of information that helps us process decisions. I'm going to yield at this point to Commissioner Washington and then on to Commissioner Williams if they have any questions. Commissioner Washington.
I don't have any questions, but I do have a few comments. First of all, Mr. Neville, thank you and the Revive group as you stated, this started out with a whole lot of opposition, with the people not knowing what was going to go across the street from their sizable investment. And you all jumped in and were able to answer all the questions, and not only answer the questions, but reassure the residents of this great project. And also, I really want to commend you all for choosing this zoning piece that preserves so much of this topography and these special features in this subdivision. And I'm really excited about this project. I'm really excited about the zoning, and I'm looking forward to welcoming these residents into Rockdale County.
All right, Commissioner Williams.
So my thoughts and sentiments are similar to Commissioner Washington's. I look forward to this development because I never thought I'd say $300,000 to $400,000 plus would be middle income homes. However, that's kind of what it is right now. And so, you know, there is a shortage of housing, and this is a good price point for a good many people. The location is right by the interstate. It's easy to get on and off, and if they work someplace else in Atlanta, which we know a good percentage of our residents do, I like what's been presented. I'm also very pleased that you spent time talking with the neighbors across the street ahead of time before it came to us. And as I was looking through the minutes of the planning commission meeting, I noticed that there were some residents who spoke highly in favor of this development, knowing and with the feeling that it would enhance what they have already invested into. And so I appreciate your presentation tonight. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Mr. Allison, just one quick question. If you would tell me the number of units that will be a part of this once again, give me that overall number, please.
Yes, sir. If you guys will roll up about 3 slides, it's 179 units, which is a density of 1.6 units per acre. There you go.
Okay, very good, very good. And the average size, looking like these homes are 3 to 4 bedrooms, or maybe even a little bit more on some of them.
Yes, sir. That's correct. Probably some 3-bedroom product for the ranch houses, but mostly larger targeting families.
And looking at some of the product you use as an example, will some of these units feature a basement setup?
I was going to ask that too.
There will. There'll be a mix of slabs and basement here, depending on the final grading plan. But we're never looking for all of one or the other. Everybody wants a basement, but not everybody can pay for it. And it can be difficult. Just if you've got a sloped piece of land, you can put basements on one side, but not on the other. And that's just kind of the way the development works.
All right. Very good. Very good. Director Johnson, who's up next?
Mr. Chairman, Madam Commissioners, we've had one individual to sign up for public comment in support, a Miss Kelly Cato.
All right,
Miss Cato, I see she's on.
Miss Cato, go right ahead.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening.
And Madam Commissioners, I am Kelly Cato. My husband Jeff and I live at the Parks at Stonecrest, 3205 Cranberry Way, Conyers, Georgia, 30094. We are exactly across from one of the entrances. As I'm not going to go very long because Mr. Allison did a wonderful presentation. I'm sorry, but I did want to call in to voice our support for the project. I was a very aggressive naysayer. I did send you all emails, and I did send one to apologize. I want to also, for the record, thank Commissioner Washington once again for calling. me personally and hearing my concerns. And then also Ms. Chester for connecting Mr. Allison and myself. We did have a community Zoom meeting. It was very successful. We were all very informed and pleased about the project. And I think speaking for my neighbors, as a general consensus, we welcome this property. We welcome the project. We welcome the neighbors. So thank you.
Well, we certainly do appreciate hearing from you tonight. And it really, as both of the commissioners have already stated, whenever a developer, and we've been saying this board has been saying this repeatedly, that we encourage our developers to meet with the residents of those people who are going to be immediately adjacent to the development or the property or the concern. In this case, Mr. Allison and his team have done their due diligence, and we certainly do appreciate that. And it's always welcoming when the citizens come and embrace the new development. We need economic development here in Rockdale County. It sounds like the commissioners are excited about it. And when I hear this kind of price point and this quality of a product, that makes us even more excited, because that's exactly what we're looking and seeking to attract in Rockdale County. Director Johnson, any additional comments from anybody?
No, sir. That completes the speakers that have signed up in advance to speak. We can go to the next item now, sir.
Very good. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for participating in this one. We'll move right on to the next one. Go right ahead, Director Johnson.
Next item is rezoning case 2022-03, 1141 Old Salem Road. This is a rezoning case to rezone a property from M1 Limited Industrial to C2 General Commercial. The size of the two parcels combined are 2.6 acres. Applicant is Forsyth Hospitality Incorporated. It required 2 public hearings. There was one at the Planning Commission and the one we're having tonight. And for the one item, it requires 1 vote. Summary, they want to develop a hotel. Approximately, initially they're looking at 89 rooms maximum, estimated 320 square foot for each room. A 4-story hotel with a maximum building height of 50 feet, approximately 92 parking spaces. And all guest rooms will be accessed internally with no direct room access to the outside. Here we have just a site map showing the red pin is indicating the location along Old Salem in the vicinity to where we are on Millstead. This is the future land use showing everything is planned for commercial along the area. And this is a current zoning. As I mentioned earlier, currently this is M1, but it is surrounded by some commercial south and to the east of the property. And this is another site map, just give you another perspective of where it is in relation to Georgia Highway 138. Next slide is just a preliminary site plan layout of the hotel structure along with the parking. And these are some of the site data. I know that earlier slide was probably a little difficult to see, some of the specifics that they are proposing for rooms and other information. In terms of a recommendation.
Could you go back a little bit to that one slide again? Really
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. In terms of a recommendation, the staff recommends approval with the following conditions: that the conceptual site plan submitted by Carter Engineering last December shall become the guiding layout for the design. The actual location of water quality features, detention streets, amenity areas, and other infrastructure depicted shall be subject to actual site conditions and the requirements of our code. Secondly, the site shall be developed in compliance with the proposed revisions regarding the general commercial zoning, if adopted. The applicant shall provide a traffic impact study with the preliminary plat. Any recommendations for improvements shall be required to be shown on the forthcoming land disturbance permit. Additionally, if our DOT determines a new study may be required for the development, and any recommendations for improvements shall be shown on the forthcoming LDP. Planning Commission also recommended approval with the one condition of having a guest lodging be limited to not more than 14 consecutive days. This concludes the staff's presentation. We do have some applicants that are here, ready to present. We have Fareed Kapadia, Bailey Brantley, Benjamin Vaughn, and Don Carter. So, Mr. Chairman, if you don't have any questions, they are ready to do their presentation.
Thank you so much, Director Johnson. I'm going to yield to Commissioner Washington, then on to Commissioner Williams. Commissioner Washington, any questions for these gentlemen?
They're not presented. Do you have the branding yet for the hotel?
It is going to be a Holiday Inn Express.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, Ben.
I'm sorry, Fred. Yes, ma'am, we do. It's going to be a Holiday Inn Express.
So I apologize, Mr. Chairman, for interrupting. Maybe we should let the applicant present and then go into board comment. It might be in their application.
Thank you so much, Director
Thank
Rutledge.
you.
And I'm going to own that oversight right here on my lap. Thank you so much for the point of correction. Gentlemen, let's take advantage of us listening and hearing and seeing your presentation at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Ben Vaughn. I'm here with Fred Kapadia, the principal of Forsyth Hospitality, Inc., and I also have Don Carter of Carter Engineering Group here with us, so we can answer any questions y'all may have. Go ahead and start with the first question. As you can see in the site plan here on the bottom right-hand corner, this will be a Holiday Inn Express. The flag has already been approved through Holiday Inn Express, and we intend to construct a Holiday Inn Express here. As you see shown here, this is the master plan layout as referenced earlier in the site report done by Carter Engineering Group. If you go to the next slide. This is just continuing on through the site layout and giving you the information on the engineering drawings here. If you can go to the next slide, please. Same thing here. This is showing the internal layout of the rooms. It will be an interior corridor hotel. None of the rooms will be accessed through the exterior of the hotel. Next slide, please. This is the exterior elevation showing you what the front side of the building will look like here. Next slide. And that's the rear elevation of the building, giving you an idea of what the rear side of the building will look like. The planning staff included this next slide that's fine. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. In their presentation as well. So this is repetitive, but this is showing you what the overall layout of the site will look like with the parking and the hotel structure on it. Next slide, please. We included this to show the surrounding zoning. The staff covered this point as well, but we are going from a more intense zoning of M1 limited industrial down to C2, which is compatible with your future land use plan and also matches the area that is surrounding the property that's already zoned commercial. Next slide, please. This was just to give more of a zoom in. I know y'all are familiar with the area, but just to show what was surrounding the area and the commercial businesses that are surrounding the area where the hotel will go, to show the compatibility of the hotel with these businesses. Next slide. We surveyed the surrounding hotels to show what the total rooms were of the hotels in the area surrounding our proposed development. The total rooms varies from a high of 99 rooms down to a low of 66 rooms. As you can see on our last line of the slide here, we're showing that our development will have the lowest number of rooms per acre at 34 rooms per acre compared to the surrounding developments. It'll also have the largest acreage on the right-hand side of the column there. You can see it'll be 2.615 acres, as opposed to the smallest all the way down to 83. And just to highlight that, Country Inn and Suites also has the highest rooms per acre of 80 rooms per acre. Next slide, please. Mr. Kapadia is experienced in the hotel industry. He's done developments all over the Southeast, several in Georgia. So we wanted to include some slides here to give you an idea of the type of development that Mr. Kapadia does and the quality of the work that he does. This is a hotel that's located in Covington, Georgia. Some of y'all may be familiar with this hotel here in Covington. Next slide will be another hotel that Mr. Capady has done. This is a recent job completed in Jackson, Georgia. This is off of the 1675 interchange in Jackson there, and showing the type of hotel, doing a Holiday Inn Express there as well as here, and the quality of the hotel that Mr. Capady intends to construct here. Next slide, I think will show one more. Oh, nope, that was the end of our slideshow there. So just to highlight, the Planning Commission and the staff have both recommended approval. We are asking for y'all's favorable approval, and we look forward to being a positive part of the community here. And if y'all have any questions, we'll be happy to address those.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Commissioner Washington, any question for these gentlemen?
Are they, the Planning Commission has recommended a 14-day total stay. Is the developer amenable to that condition?
We would prefer not to have that condition. I think the Planning Commission's concern was whether the developer intended to construct, what type of hotel the developer intended to construct here. And so that's why we wanted to assure y'all and be clear that this will be a Holiday Inn Express. It's not going to be an extended stay hotel.
I am so glad, Commissioner Washington, that you pointed that out. I'm more excited to hear that it is a Holiday Inn Express and suites type product, because we're more familiar with their product. And this community has already reached out to us in record number about not entertaining any more extended stays. Knowing that this is a quality product that has been around for a long time, I think that this would be an asset to our community, in addition to what's happening along the economic development front right now in Rockdale and Conyers. But that was an excellent question, because we've had that come from several directions. Folks have wanted to know, will this be, and my response had always been to a few of those people, I don't think so. And tonight, I've got clarification that it will not be. So thank you so much for asking that. Any additional questions, Commissioner Washington?
No, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I can just follow up on that point. We have the construction plans ready, and if approved, Mr. Capady is going to put a Holiday Inn Express here. No questions about it. So just to take that concern off the table, we understand it, but this is going to be will be a Holiday Inn Express, and we do look to be an asset in the community.
Absolutely. Commissioner Williams. Commissioner Williams, are you there?
Yep, I had muted myself.
Oh, okay.
So I am really pleased that that's what's going there. I have always liked that house that was on that piece of property, but it always looked so out of place. It needed to be out on a farm or something. I could only imagine that it was kind of mishmashed after they put I-20 through here. So I think it's an ideal location, and I'm certainly pleased that it's a Holiday Inn Express, and I think it's a good fit for Rockdale County.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Director Johnson, is there anything or anyone else related to this particular item before we move forward?
Mr. Chairman, no, we have no individuals that have signed up to speak for this particular item, so we can move forward to the next item.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you all. Appreciate
Thank you for your interest here in Rockdale County. Next item, please.
Okay, next item is a future land use case. Future land use case 2022-02, 1900 Dogwood Drive and 0 Old Covington Highway, Conyers, Georgia. This is a request for two items to amend the future land use map from light industrial to high density residential. Also to rezone two parcels from M1 limited industrial to RM residential multifamily. The size of the two parcels combined, 8.65 acres. The applicant is Morbass LLC. It requires two hearings. We had one at the Planning Commission. We have one tonight. and one vote is required for each item, one for the rezoning and one for the future land use. This will allow for the development of a 70 townhome product. The proposed gross density is 8.1 units per acre. There will be 2 proposed access points, one on Dogwood and one on Old Covington Highway. And they are proposing approximately 4.5 acres of open space. Here we have a site map. The red pin is indicating the location along 1900 Dogwood. And just so for a point of reference, this is right beside the BJ's wholesale. And this is again showing the vicinity from where they are to where we are at 908 Millstead. All right, this is a future land use, and it is showing again where future is light industrial along with RM multifamily residential. Next slide. And this is a current zoning. Current zoning is showing that, again, a combination of commercial as well as light industrial for these 2 parcels. Next slide. And this is, again, just to give you another perspective where they are, the 2 parcels, again, adjacent to I-20 as well as Old Covington. Next slide is a proposed layout of the 70-unit townhomes. You'll see where they have their proposed roadway, amenities, and proposed green space. In terms of a recommendation, staff recommends approval with the following conditions: that the conceptual site plan prepared by Morbass, dated last year, shall be the guiding layout and design. The actual location of water quality, detention streets, amenities, and other infrastructure improvements shall be subject to the actual site conditions and requirements of our code. Secondly, the site shall be developed in compliance with the proposed revisions regarding the residential multifamily zoning, if adopted. The applicant shall provide a traffic impact study with the preliminary plat. Any recommendations for improvements shall be required to be shown during the LDP phase. Additionally, as determined by our DOT, a new study may be required, and if so, any recommendations for improvements shall also be shown on the LDP. That concludes the staff presentation for this item. If you don't have any questions, the applicants, we do have 3 of them that have signed up, and they have an applicant presentation to share with us tonight.
Okay, Commissioner. Director, are you going to the applicant at this time, or?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Unless you have any questions for staff, they are ready to go forward.
Okay, let's hear.
We have Pam Powers, Jennifer Crispin, and Kelly Riley.
All righty, let's hear from the applicant.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Crispin. I am an engineer with Morbass Consulting, and I am here representing Blue River Development on this project. I have loved what you guys have been sharing tonight. Dr. Williams, you're going to hear some of the price points that we're going to have at this luxury townhome are in the $315,000, which again, it's hard for us to believe, but it's the sign of the times and it's a good time. So this is our layout. As the director just mentioned, we do have 2 entrances. One will be for emergency only, and that's the one on Dogwood Drive on the lower half of the screen. The one on Old Covington, that will be our gated residence entrance and the main entrance for everyone off of Old Covington, because the thought was, of course, to keep as much traffic away from Dogwood Drive as we would need to. This is going to cater probably to a young professional or maybe even empty nester group. Because of the location, you've got great restaurants, you've got great shopping, and of course, its proximity to I-20. Next slide, please. This is just renderings to scale of what the entrance would look like off of Old Covington Highway. Next slide, please. Back to the base map. One thing that the director mentioned, I do want to highlight, because I know you've mentioned it a couple of times tonight, and I want to highlight it. We do have only 8.6 acres, and we're proposing 4.5. So more than half of the site is open space. that I think is going to be an amenity for you guys for approval, hopefully, and of course for our residents as well. We want them to be buffered from the interstate. It's always good to be close to the interstate, but you also want to have some buffer from that as well. And that's why we've located the central amenity area where it is closer to Old Covington Highway. Next slide, please. This is a rendering. Right now, as we know, these things could change, but right now they're proposing a fire pit, a pavilion right off of the entrance area. Next slide, please. These will be what is very in style, in trend right now, the modern farmhouse. They will have a 2-car garage and access. We have shifted the layout so that you could still have 2 cars parked in the driveway as well. You'll notice there's roughly 8 feet between the units. This helps us with the utilities, but also for landscaping. This will be a professionally manicured park so that it's not going to be individuals, of course, having to do this. It will be done by a company, so you won't have to worry about your neighbor's yard. We are also proposing a 5-foot sidewalk for access throughout the site. Next, please. This is just turning to the right. So you were looking at the units, now you're looking down the street. Another thing, we do a lot of developments throughout the Atlanta area, and it's always a question about off-street or on-street parking. And we understand that. That's why we have the 2-car garages. That's why we're proposing, areas that they could park in the driveway. We want to make those deep enough that they could park. And then also the way the regulations are set up, it's 1 off-street parking space per 3 units. So for this size, at 70 units, it would be 24 spaces. We're proposing 31, just to try to alleviate any of the problems that may happen with off-street parking. And next, please. And lastly, we do engineering, like I said, and then we also do surveying. We are lucky to have a pretty big drone presence in the Atlanta area. This was flown the week of Christmas. So I wanted to show the recent aerial. Like the director said, it is really close to BJ's. That's a Jeep, just to the south of that, a Jeep dealership. Our proposed site has been vacant roughly 10 plus years. It's a grading site. There's some dirt that's stored closer to Old Covington Highway. But I really wanted to highlight that RM site that was recently approved. They are, as you can see, well under construction. And so we would be adjoining that property, and they're also multifamily. And of course, that's what we're requesting as well. So the highlights, it's a little over 8.5 acres, 70 luxury townhomes at a price point of roughly $315,000 a unit, and more than half open space and 7 more additional spaces for off-street parking. So we're really trying to be cognizant of the surrounding area as well as our future tenants. So that's my presentation. If you have any questions or anything else, I'm glad to answer.
All right, Ms. Chrisman, thank you. Ms. Chrisman, thank you so much. This is, again, exciting to hear. I'm going to yield to the commissioners. I will start with Commissioner Washington. Any comments for you? Questions, Commissioner?
No, this development sounds like it's reading my mind. It's definitely all of my bells and whistles. She answered all of my questions. It sounds just like something I've been saying since we started with this trend. That we want the best of the townhomes or any kind of development. If you're going to bring it to Rockdale County, we want the best that you have. And this sounds like it has everything that I would want to see. So I'm loving it. It looks like a great quality of life for our residents.
Thank you.
Commissioner Williams?
So I wondered, first off, what the square footage would be of each unit, and how many bedrooms, that kind of thing.
We're averaging about 1,600 square feet and a mixture of 2 and 3 bedrooms.
Okay. Have you thought about putting garages in the back?
Well, this site, because of just if you can if whoever's controlling, can y'all go up a couple of slides so you can see the layout? It's a funky layout with the narrow entrance off of Old Covington, and then it gets, there we go, thank you. See the narrow entrance? It's about layout, and when you do a rear entry garage, your layout, obviously you have to have a little more space. So we've thought about it, and it's a product that our developer has used on other spaces, but for this one, that narrowing of the part in the beginning just gives it a little bit more difficulty, or we may lose, open space, which we're trying to keep, as much as possible too. So,
Okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
All right. Well, I tell you, thank you so much. This is again, and let me just say, Commissioner Washington was spot on. You've been listening. Somebody's been listening to us, and we certainly do appreciate this. This is another product that we can be proud of, and this is what the community have been asking for, and there's a big demand for this. So listen, thank you so much. Director Johnson, is there anything or anyone else related to this particular item?
Mr. Chairman, we have no one that has signed up tonight to speak, no public comment. So this concludes, no public comment.
All right, thank you so much. Executive Director Rutledge, I think we are at a point of adjournment. Is that correct? Or do we have any other business we need to take up before we close this meeting?
Unless there's any reports from Director Johnson or the planning department, yes, Mr. Chairman, we're ready to adjourn.
Director Rutledge, we do have the Planning Commission minutes that we submitted, but that's it.
All right, are there any other reports or anything else, Director Johnson?
No, sir. No, sir.
All right, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, as stated throughout this evening, no decisions will be made tonight. We certainly do appreciate all of the participants and all of the information that myself and the commissioners have received. We will certainly be processing all of this information, and we will be coming back with a decision on the appropriate date. What will be that date, Director Rutledge?
Items will be heard at the Board of Commissioners meeting scheduled for the voting session, which is Tuesday, March 8th at 10 a.m.
Outstanding. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our meeting for this planning and zoning meeting for tonight. Thank you for joining our virtual presentation. Chairman Nesbitt, on behalf of the Rockdale County Board of Commissioners, good evening.